A violent stalemate in Caracas. On one side, opposition protesters. On the other, the National Guard, still largely loyal to Nicolás Maduro and his revolution. The injured are carried away, and then this violent game of cat and mouse begins all over again.
I want to be here, fighting for my country. It's better than staying at home in front of the computer.
The opposition called this a decisive day for Venezuela, but they said that often since anti-government unrest began in January. And Juan Guaido is still far from the presidential palace. So from the streets, he urged supporters to keep up the pressure.
What we have sacrificed has not been in vain. They thought our protests would be over after yesterday. They were wrong. Let's keep protesting until we have freed Venezuela.
But despite months of pressure, Nicolás Maduro can still mobilise supporters too. Pro-government militias crowded in alongside nostalgists for the late Hugo Chavez at a May Day rally. The other Venezuela seemingly as defiant as ever.
This is a show of strength against US imperialism and its aggressive plans.
Maduro's message now that only he can defend the country against Washington. The Venezuelan leader denies he's going anywhere, even after Tuesday's military uprising.
Yesterday's coup, the skirmish that played out yesterday, was personally directed from the White House by John Bolton.
A day after Venezuela lurched further into chaos, it appears that neither government nor opposition is any closer to victory. Instead, the country's vicious stalemate is producing yet more suffering and yet more victims.
Let's get more on this now with Ezequiel Bistoletti, political scientist at Berlin's Alice Solomon University and expert on Venezuela. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Guaido's calling for more strikes until Maduro is forced out. Will the public back him on this?
I really doubt that, because the reason why his attempt failed yesterday, it was basically because he did not receive the popular support that he was expecting. So his strategy is to keep things up, to keep escalating, but so far it has not worked. So I doubt that it's going to work now.
Okay, so you don't think this approach by Guaido is going to be successful. But what about Maduro? Now, how has he been able to keep the military on side, a large portion of the public, considering the shortages of food and medicine, an outflow of refugees out of the country, and the mounting domestic political pressure?
Yeah, the economy has basically collapsed over the last years. However, Maduro still holds the support of a kind of big part of the Venezuelan population, especially among poor people, because they still remember the good years of the President Chavez, when the economy grew, when the inequality and poverty decreased. The government also distributes social assistance, which is very important, especially among poor people, to make ends meet. And the military supports him because of different reasons. One of them is that they play a very important role in Maduro's government, and they have a lot of privileges that they do not want to lose, right?
How long can Maduro count on the positive sentiments left over from the Chavez regime? How long can that last?
That's a very good question, but nobody can answer that. It has worked so far, but naturally, his support is decreasing, or has decreased over the years. And next to that, I think that the opposition, with this strategy of escalating and trying to throw him out violently, this is not working. So we have both very polarized, radicalized sides here playing a part, and none of them is really getting to control the country, really. But Maduro is in power, so far that goes.
Okay, now another strategy of Guaido is to break off a key element of the military leadership. He hasn't been successful so far. Could he be successful in this area?
I cannot foresee the future, but so far that strategy has not worked, even though yesterday something around 100 military men participated. But so far, The higher officials, just a few of them, have left the government. Most of them still remain there.
What about the impact of the involvement of other countries, especially from Russia and the United States? How is that likely to affect the situation?
It is very important. Both countries are interested in Venezuela because of the obvious fact that Venezuela has some of the largest oil reserves in the world. And next to that, the country, that big power that is pushing things forward here, which is the US, has many interests there. One of the reasons why the US is supporting Guaido so much is the shift in its foreign policy towards Latin America in the context of the trade war with China. The US, since Trump came to power, has hardened its political line towards Venezuela. The US does not want any opposition or real opposition within the American continent. So this is one of the reasons why Trump is supporting Guaido so much. The other things have to do with the internal political situation of Trump. One of them is that he's been accused of collaborating with Russia. So in the light of these accusations in 2016, it is very good for him to show that he's confronting with Russia, and he's using Russia as he's using Venezuela as somehow a proxy war to confront with Russia. Putin is using this politically as well because it pays off for him to confront with the US. So we have a lot of interest there playing a part.
Ezequiel Bistoletti, thanks so very much for your comments today.